count us down already?
Hey everybody, good to see you. Here with Steve. We're just
Hey,
hanging
guys.
out, right, in the afternoon.
Yeah, in the afternoon.
John and Steve in the afternoon.
Yep. So we're going to do this sometimes, right?
Yeah, just hanging out.
Okay.
So we've been thinking a lot about.
Sorry, I'm going to check.
You're checking something.
Yep. I'm just checking, make sure we're up. There we go.
Looks
We're
like
up.
it.
Yep, we're up. Sorry. Oh, there we go. Hi, everybody.
Hey, welcome. We're just hanging out in the afternoon, and we've been talking a lot about, in particular, like what parents are feeling
Yeah.
in these days, because everything's shifted on its head.
Yep.
And there's been so much chaos and change, and a lot of parents now have found themselves doing things that they'd never imagined
Right.
they would have to do
Yeah.
or wade into, from being at home all the time to having to educate their kids to
Yeah.
having to entertain to whatever it might be. And so there's just a lot of emotion, I think, and there are phases to that emotion, and we're still kind of on the front end of that, where this has not happened very long ago.
Yeah.
So it's still new to a lot of people, and people are trying to find rhythm and okay, how do I do this, and how long is it going to go, and all the uncertainty that comes along with that.
Yeah.
And just trying to navigate those things. But one of the things we were talking about that I thought was pretty cool is expectations.
Yeah.
Like, this is America, and we all live in America.
Yep.
And 3 weeks ago, my schedule
Yeah.
in a week
Yeah.
was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
From running this kid to this practice and getting them involved in this club to having them do the expectations that I think we carry as a society on
Yeah.
the definitions of success are really high. What have you seen, like, even in your life? Like,
Yeah.
you probably had some of that similar stuff with kids in high school, college, all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah. So thanks, John. For us as family, it's an interesting challenge because both my wife and I are high achievers,
Okay.
and so we start setting very high expectations for ourselves. And I would say both of us would agree that there's times where we both have to talk back and forth to one another and say, "Hey, it's time to settle down.
Right.
Your expectations are way up here, and like whatever it is we're doing, we aren't in the Fortune 500 company trying to accomplish this with an army of people around us." And I would say sometimes in our home, for us as parents, we sometimes will set the bar a little too high or too high for our girls. Our son is a super high achiever. And so he would jump on, which would then, so if all three of us were working, it created.
You're oppressive.
Yeah, we are. And we're like, all of us are attacking
So
a
you
problem.
have sucked the life out of that house then.
We're adding more.
Very quickly.
We're adding more.
Yeah.
So as many of you know too, so we have his dog, this new puppy.
Right.
And we're all working to keep him calm because his new puppy, it's like very positively aggressive, very energetic. And so now when anyone else steps up with this expectation level, it feels it, and you can see the chaos that it's creating in our home.
Yeah.
So I don't know if moms and dads are feeling the same way.
I would imagine they are, because we're in this limbo state.
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now,
yeah,
where we're between.
yeah,
Like, things are not the way they were just a couple weeks ago,
yeah,
and they're not the way they will be
yeah,
at some point in the future that's undefined, because we don't know when that is.
yeah,
And so trying to figure out what are the expectations right
Yeah.
now, because I think we still live with a little bit of a mindset of what they used to be, but now everything's shifted and changed.
yeah,
My kids are at home,
yep,
and some of them are being educated in different ways
Okay,
at
yeah,
home. And
yeah.
so what are the expectations for that? And so I think one of the things we want to talk about today is, how do you set expectations in a
Yeah.
season like this?
That's good.
And how do you not create this intensity around it that's
Yeah.
not necessarily helpful or needed
Yeah.
right now, while we're trying to navigate just chaos
Yeah.
and uncertainty? And so how do we redeem some of this time that we have during this pandemic?
Yeah, I would say like starting off, and something that you and I have talked about before, John and I have kind of mentioned to one another, is we want to lower that expectation to something that's normal. I think there are different types of people. Some people can see the big picture real easily. Other people, they get way down on the weeds, and no one's right or wrong. It depends on where we're at. If you're a big picture person, it's easier for you to lower that bar in some senses. Sometimes you can push it higher. But and if you're down in the weeds all the time, that I think is one of the more challenging, because you feel this angst, this energy of everything needing to be fixed all the time at my house. I would say, remembering the verse we talked about in one of these sessions of Hebrews chapter 4, I believe it's verse 12. It's not 4 verse 12. It's maybe Hebrews 4:16. I can't remember, but it's basically, thank you, coming to the throne of grace. If our perfect heavenly Father is okay with us the way we are, and he asks us to come to his throne of grace, and he's pushing grace down on us, we as human beings need to accept that grace on ourselves.
Yeah. And disappointment is the difference between our expectation and our reality.
Yeah.
So, for instance, take like when you go to a movie.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to a movie and you had this expectation that this movie was going to be incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's a Marvel movie, whatever you like.
Yeah.
And you walk into this movie and your expectation is through the roof, and you're saying, this movie's going to be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're setting yourself up for disappointment more than you're setting yourself up for your expectation to be exceeded, because your expectations are so high going in. But then you go to a movie that you're like, this would be all right. I don't have anything else to do for this next 2 hours.
Yeah.
So let's go, watch a movie and it'll be okay. And then you walk out and you're saying to yourself, that was a great movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, what did it just exceeded your expectations.
Yeah.
And so your expectations are really key.
Mm-hmm.
And so this season that we're in calls for a different set of expectations than we as parents even had 2 weeks ago in our life.
Totally agree.
My child getting out of bed and getting dressed.
Yes,
is a win.
That's success, right? Yeah,
yeah,
totally agree with you.
Days. Having a normal meal.
Yes,
that's a win in these days. And so, a lot of parents, I think, are feeling this pressure to complete this year.
Right.
Whether it comes to school or satisfy kids who are disappointed or whatever it might be. So one of the things we were talking about is how, as a parent, could you approach a day, a moment, and not leave that day or moment feeling like a failure?
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah, I would say set realistic expectations. I think I'll step back just for a second. Sorry to try to figure that out, but that's nonverbal. But one of the things is just in business, if you're in business or anywhere else, we do SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-tested. Those are just our normal SMART goals. I think when we get up out of the morning, approach life like John just did. My child got out of bed. They got dressed. They brushed their teeth before noon. Yeah. And they brushed their teeth. They ate lunch. They ate breakfast. They maybe watched a show. And I also want to step back. If you have elementary school students, make sure the main things are covered. That's it. And then whatever is important, just keep on going through, making sure that their needs are met. How did your child feel like the day went? And what was the expectations from you and the expectations from them? Did they finish the homework? Or did they finish their responsibilities? That's really the main piece to everything.
Yeah, and I love some of the things you said too, that every day is so fluid.
Yeah, it is fluid.
There's so much change, and so kids, as adults, it messes with us.
Yep.
Like, I don't know about you guys, but
that's good.
There are nights where I lay awake, wondering about everything. Providing for the family. Yeah. How's the church going to continue forward? Everything under the sun, because we don't know the end of all of this. So take that into a kid.
Yep.
Their world has been turned upside down, and so one of the things I think to redeem a day might be just to have a conversation.
Yeah.
With your child.
Yeah. How are you feeling today?
How are you feeling? And try to help them navigate even the emotions that they're dealing with.
Yeah.
For my 9-year-old, it's going to be a different conversation than it will be for my 16-year-old.
Yeah.
But are there moments that I can check in with them?
Yeah.
And not just you have to finish this, or you have to complete this, or you have to get this done, which I think we have to do those things.
Yeah.
But is there a moment that I've had with my child to just talk?
Yeah. I think that's good too. And if you're a fixer, like so many parents are. Maybe we need let's just be realistic about who we are, know what we do, and then if we are a fixer, when we go to have that conversation, just turn that off. And that's hard. I know that's really hard. But just say, hey, I'm not here to fix you. And you might not say that outwardly. You just say that to yourself and say, hey, how are you feeling today? And if they're like, I don't know. Oh, well, what's going on inside of you? What are the thoughts that you have? What did you like or dislike about today? What are the good things? What are the hard things? And start prying into some of that. Maybe if your child doesn't want to talk about it, maybe expose your thoughts, your feelings. Maybe just tell them, hey, I'm a little scared about what's going on. What do you think about that? What would you tell me to do?
Yeah, that's great because that's conversational.
Yeah.
And I think that can be really helpful for kids to help them process.
Yeah.
Whether they're thinking concretely, or they're starting to move into abstract thinking.
Yeah.
Because especially as kids start to become 5th grade, 6th grade teenagers, they're going to start to think a little more abstractly and have questions about why is this happening, which gives you opportunity to go to Scripture and start to talk a little bit about that. So one of the things we talked about, like with needs right now, some of the important needs right now, we wrote a couple notes here that number one, it's based on Matthew 22. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So in Base Camp, every week we try to get this message in once or twice. And so in Matthew 22, it says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. That's the first and greatest commandment. Then to love your neighbor as yourself. Then the other one is, this is where all the prophets, and I'm quoting this off the top of my prophets and somebody were hung everything. So there's 3 parts to that verse we teach the kids every week. And here is the bottom line of all of our life. Number 1, love God. Number 2, love others. Everyone in your house, everyone in your neighbor, to the best of our ability. We'll often throw in Romans chapter 12, verse 19. It's my job to make peace with everybody.
There you go.
Can't keep it, but I can make it.
Right.
So then that helps me learn to love people. And then...
And how is this season helping us grow?
Yeah.
In that way.
Like
today, how can I grow as a person who loves God more? What are some things I can engage in? And then what are opportunities that I have to love people more?
Yeah.
We're 2 weeks into this stay-at-home thing. So emotions are raw, and we've stepped on each other's toes.
Yeah, a few times
at this point. And so loving each other, there's a practicum almost.
There is.
That's right there that we can lean into. And then just even our neighbors.
Yeah.
How can we show Christ to our neighbors right now?
Yeah. And I would say, like, when the friction comes, I would do this too as moms and dads. When things begin to happen, step back, pause, and ask myself, is this a tension to manage or a conflict to resolve?
Yeah.
And that's super important for us. Tension is what makes beautiful music out of our life and out of instruments. Conflict is when 2 notes are opposite or are polarized to one another. And so we want to take a minute and stop and ask the question. And then when we get into a place where it's where we say, hey, maybe there's some tension, conflicts to manage to resolve, we can just step in and say, hey, I noticed this happened with you and your brother, you and your sister, you and your dad, even, hey, let's be honest, between mom and dad, and just say, hey, in that moment, how did this help or hurt our relationship?
Yeah.
And just listen to each other.
Yeah. So one of the other things we talked about kind of needs right now for just people in general, but sometimes we forget that people in general applies to kids.
Yeah.
It does.
It does.
They're people.
Yep.
And they have emotions and feelings. And they're feeling things right now. And one of the things that they're missing is their friends. And especially as a kid goes through elementary and starts to develop that part of their life, and moves into being a teenager, it even more develops.
Yep.
So what are some ways that we can help that loss?
Yeah, that's good.
Loss
it is a loss.
I had a conversation with one of my daughters even yesterday.
Yeah.
It's just that's a big sense of loss.
It is.
Right now, that sense of connection.
Yeah, I think if we can identify with our child by saying, we go back to those emotion times, that feeling stuff, and they're like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to feel. Or they kind of respond in an angry way, or they respond off, and you're just like, you're ready to be frustrated with them, or kind of, if you might even say like, we're ready to shoot an arrow with our words at them, we might pull back and say, hey, I know in this moment, it's hard to see the loss that you've had, the loss of your friendships, the loss of your grades, the loss of things that were important to you, and try to, your kid, whatever that is, because the first thing that we do when we come to these moments in loss, we straight up begin to deny that there's any loss, and we push it out. We're like, oh no. Well, then what does that breed?
That.
Yeah, so do I.
I'm in Enneagram 7. And
okay, yeah.
We take pain and we're like, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, yeah.
But it
and
does.
what happens?
But
what
it
happens?
does. We just bury it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it doesn't help.
It's not helpful.
No, because we're just pushing everything under the rug.
Yeah.
And what happens when we push stuff under the rug? It just builds up.
Yep.
And we can't walk over it anymore. It gets in our way. It's a stumbling block.
Right.
And so what that does, because we're denying it, it builds up anger.
Yep.
Unresolved anger develops bitterness. Bitterness creates this intense friction, this intense sore in relationships. And so I think if, as moms and dads, if we just take a step and say, hey, let's just explore this for a minute. What do you feel like you've lost?
Yeah, which is it's replacing that
Yeah.
feeling of anger or
Yes.
bitterness with a feeling of empathy.
Yeah.
Because as a grown up, I can put my feelings first in
Yeah.
a lot of ways and forget to my 9-year-old what she's feeling. She's feeling it just as much as I am.
Yeah.
And it means as much to her as it does to me.
Yeah.
So it's different things, obviously, but
Yeah.
this loss of contact
Yeah.
with friends is a big deal.
It is a
so
big
what
deal.
are some things you're doing, because you're doing some cool stuff?
Yeah.
What are some things you're doing to try to help navigate some of
Yeah.
that?
So at Moms and Dads UC, we posted out a Zoom. We sent out an email today. If you had a chance, just check out your emails and look at it, because we're trying to get a group for you. Then as we get a group for you, we'd love to know back from you what will help your child. So we want to divide this up into kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, different Zooms for these kids. Because that helps them get connection. We might have distancing physically, but in our era, we have the greatest opportunity to be socially connected through devices, through FaceTime, whatever else
And
it is.
I would say this too, in addition to that, it is the language that kids today speak. So
Yeah,
while for you and I, that might feel awkward and weird, to them it feels normal and fine.
They don't know anything else, right?
And so it's just a part of their thought process. And
Yeah.
so for me, we've opened up a little bit more communication time on
That's
devices
good. Yeah,
and
yeah.
things than we normally would have,
Yep.
because they're spending all day together at school, so you don't need
Yep.
to come home and talk
Yeah.
on FaceTime for 2 hours.
Yeah, true.
Well, now maybe the FaceTime thing's not a bad thing for them to have for a little bit of a season. So it's just
like that.
considering some things to help them maintain some of those connections that even through technology, while not all the way to what we'd like it to be, it at least helps in some ways. So I appreciate what you're doing. Like my kids, when they go on school and they sit with their class in kind of a virtual class, to them that's huge. Just seeing faces and hearing voices and knowing that their friends are all okay, it gives them this connection point. And so that's just a massive thing.
It is.
So how can they get to be a part of those Zoom
so you need
groups?
to email me. You also need to have Zoom on your computer. Email me, sneal at BibleCenterChurch.com. Or if you can't remember that, that's okay. Let me give you my phone number, 603-937-0160. Text me. If that's hard, you're on our Facebook group, because now you're right here. Go to Bible Center Kids. Just say, go to the message section, click on it, and it will come to me, and I'll get your email put in, and we'll forward you the info you need. Or we can talk. You can even, if you didn't know this, you can phone call through Messenger. So I talk to people all over the United States through Facebook on the phone. They'll call me and be like, hey, what's up? It's easier for me to explain this to you. It's through just a business that I have. It's a lot easier.
You're just kind of a big deal.
No, I'm not a big deal. I
People from all over the world call
just the
you.
United States. Just the United States.
Just the United States.
We just
Oh,
talk.
that's all.
Yeah, we have I have friends in different places that we help each other with some woodworking that we do, and they're super cool people. They're very smart. They've done this for a long time.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's cool. So yeah, let me give you. There's 3. I was looking on here. There were 3 feelings that we want to watch our kids find, and I can't find them on my note, John. I don't remember what I did with them, and I wanted to give these feelings to you because they help us understand what's going on with our children when they feel this way. But you can ask me another question because now I can't find it. I wrote them down.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Nope, that's okay. It was something about oh, here they are. Oh, so here are our 3 feelings. Okay, so if you notice your child, let's look at these. Number 1, discouraged. Number 2 is frustrated. And number 3 is lacks motivation. Now, I can't tell you, and I don't want to tell you, John and I actually talked about this before. I don't want to tell you how to parent. I don't want to say, hey, if you do these 5 things, this is going to be a miracle.
There's not a formula right now.
There is not.
Every kid
No.
is so different.
Right.
And every house is so different. And every
Yes.
parenting style is so different.
Yep.
But there are some things that just kind of generally people feel
Yeah.
in this type of environment.
Yeah.
And kids are no different from that.
Yeah, because feelings, they reveal what's going on in here. And they're not good or bad. And we need to remember that. And I will tell you, from my personality type, I look at feelings sometimes, oh, it's either good or bad. Well, no, it's not. It's a revealer of what's happening, how something is affecting me. It's a poor choice if I make a decision based on my feelings. But when a child feels frustrated, they are uncertain or cloudy about something that's been given to them. Now, they may not be able to communicate that to you, but when you say, hey, how do you feel about that? I'm very frustrated. So frustration is between disappointment and anger. Let me get my hands on here right.
You're doing great.
Thanks. So disappointment and anger, it's right in the middle. They don't know what to do. Everything's cloudy, and so they need help from you to remove the cloud, clear out all the smoke, and help them to get a good pathway. If they feel discouraged, that means we've made too high of an expectation they can't reach, or they need tools to help them reach that level of expectation. So if you notice your child acting in a discouraged way, so what would that look like?
I think too that could be a loss of purpose.
Yeah, big time.
You know,
yeah.
like I think one of the things that people are struggling with right now is purpose.
Yeah.
Because my day just changed.
Yep.
And while I had purpose in what I was doing prior to this,
Yeah.
now I'm trying to figure out what my purpose is.
Yes, and think of dads.
In this season.
Yep.
And so kids are the same way.
Yep.
You know, we're all made to have purpose.
Yep.
And when we lose that a little bit, it hurts. And we
Yeah.
get discouraged.
Yeah, and I think dads, right now, as much as we don't want your identity caught up in your job,
Yeah.
when you're stuck at home, and I don't mean to put it negatively, but the reality is you can't leave your home.
Right.
And we feel stuck, and we feel like we can't go anywhere. My personality type, you ask my wife, my girls, I go crazy because I need to move. Well, I'm learning, I'm trying to be better, but when our jobs have been put on hold to a point, we can get very discouraged. Yeah.
What's the third one?
That third one, thank you. Lack motivation. That one's a good one. Like if you notice your kid, they're looking lazy, they're looking bummed out, their goal is way too low. And it's time for us to set some higher expectations. In America, that tends not to be our struggle.
Right.
But we as parents can be at the point where we're just looking at everybody and saying, I don't know what's going on. And so now we just kind of push everything aside because we're frustrated. It could be it could be a bad day. It could be a bad week. And for you, if you're really discouraged, it could have been a bad month.
Yeah.
And
that's, there's what you're talking about there. Maybe a way to say that would be to consider rhythms.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
'cause
totally agree with you.
Normal life has rhythms to
Yeah.
it, and this has upset all of those rhythms. So whatever those rhythms might be, they tend to be beneficial. Whatever your household rhythms could be, they tend to be beneficial in a season like this, just to have rhythms. There's lots of funny memes about that that are out there. But having some type of rhythm, even for kids, is really beneficial for that kind of lack of motivation type thing.
Yeah, so I would say, like, I'm going to get real, very real. I'm always real. but I'm going to get raw, real. So where I learned these principles right here. So I lost, and we're not supposed to lose our job in ministry, right? It's always supposed to be there. It's supposed to be something stable. And I lost my job in ministry. It wasn't because I did anything. It was because of things that happened at the church. And it was just like, it's over. It's done. I agreed to something and said, okay, you know what? I'll move on. There's no way that we're going to make this work. There's no way you can make it work. There's lots of layoffs. It's just a bad situation. And it just happened. Most of my friends, they know that. And I went through a time where I was like, wow, I'm going through all these different emotions. I would say all three of them. I was frustrated, I was discouraged, and I lacked motivation. And every day, I'm all over the place. And my head was just like spinning until I finally had to get a place where I had somebody to talk to. So I understand. I'm sorry for what you're facing and other people are facing.
But they're common, is what you're saying.
They are so normal.
Like everything, all of this stuff, everything that your kids are feeling, expressing, all of it's normal.
It is normal.
Every person right now is going through this, almost in the world.
Yep.
Because this is a worldwide thing.
Yeah.
And so there's ways we can navigate it. Hopefully some of this stuff has been helpful to you guys
I hope so.
today as we've talked. But even more than that, we just love to keep talking with you. And so if we can help in any way, now you got Steve's cell number. So call him, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. Feel free. Text him, call him, FaceTime him, whatever. He'll be happy to take that call.
I will. I'll take it. My family might not be. Sometimes. I was up early this morning.
Nice.
Yeah, it was all
That's
good.
really good.
Yeah.
Hey, we love you guys.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you again soon.
All right. See you. Bye.
See you.